Welcome to the Have Mandolin Will Travel podcast. This is the Lazarus Music Project. About 5 years ago now, I started the Lazarus Music Project, an ongoing musical venture where I attempt to resurrect nearly forgotten Western chamber music. This project started as just a musical exercise. In addition to my mandolin, I impulsively bought a mandola and a mandocello and wanted to learn how to play them. A mandolin is basically a violin crossed with a guitar. It's played mostly like a guitar, but it is tuned like a violin. Similarly, a mandola is a guitar crossed with a viola, and a mandocello is a guitar crossed with a cello. My mandola is only slightly larger than my mandolin, but the mandocello is essentially an acoustic guitar-sized mandolin. I already read violin music well, but I didn't know how to read viola or cello. There's not very many method books or transcriptions for mandola or mandocello, so if I was going to learn them, I'd have to teach myself by playing orchestral music. So I started looking up chamber music on imslp.org, which is a web archive of public domain scores. As of this writing, compositions written before the 1920s are in the public domain in the US, meaning they are not protected by copyright and can be used or recorded without requiring permission. I searched for string quartets and clicked more or less randomly on Josephus Foder's String Quartet No. 1, Op. 11. It didn't look too difficult, but I had no idea what it sounded like, so I Googled it to look for recordings. And I couldn't find any. Nothing. Nowhere. It was so hard to conceive that in the year of our Lord 2020, that a piece of music I wanted to hear wasn't at my fingertips. I'd have to play it to find out what it sounded like. The fragility of the thing really struck me. That piece of music just did not exist. It was just scribbles on a piece of paper, crafted by a composer I'd never heard of. His Wikipedia entry is only one paragraph. He was born in the Netherlands in 1751 and moved to St. Petersburg in 1792, and his musical voice has almost faded away, existing only as a PDF on an internet archive. In fact, I couldn't find recordings for anything he had composed. And every year that goes by, it seems less and less likely that someone is going to perform the work or record it. There is hope for this lost music. Hell, after Bach died in 1750, his music was mostly forgotten until the 1820s when Mendelssohn resurrected it. But for every Bach, there are no doubt hundreds of composers whose life's work has functionally vanished, or lies dormant in some forgotten corner of the internet or some library basement. A few more hours of poking around the archive revealed dozens and dozens of pieces across the centuries with no extant recordings. I hate the idea that these will all fade, that we're a server crash away from losing these windows to the past, that the chain from the artist's imagination to the listeners of the future has been broken. One of the definitive marks of humanity is the ability to have and preserve symbolic language and transmit those symbols across time. Symbolic language lets us do another thing that is unique among the creatures of the earth. We can skip generations. I can find a note from 100 years ago and read it. I don't need to have learned its contents from someone who learned it from someone who learned it from the scribe. Art, be it visual, literary, or musical, is a way to communicate across the ages, a one-way beacon from the creator to those who would follow. Art creates a connection. How many have read the words of Achebe or Twain and gotten a window into their minds, potentially more articulate than the window they have into people they actually know? How many thousands or millions have those authors spoken to, and how many more will they reach? And how many artists' work will never be experienced? With all that rebounding around in my head, I decided to start the Lazarus Music Project, where I would dig up pieces with no recordings, the more obscure the better, and record all the parts myself. I wasn't quite sure where to start, but I knew if I waited until I knew what I was doing, I'd never do it. I couldn't play the parts yet. I couldn't even read half the music, but I decided to, as Ray Bradbury said, jump off the cliff and assemble my wings on the way down. For whimsical reasons, I decided to start with that Foder quartet I found first. Let's just say the journey was a journey, but I remember when I had laid the last part down and my go-to engineer Mike pressed play on the full quartet, I realized he and I were potentially the first people to have heard this piece in a very, very long time. After a long sleep, it had been teased out of the page and existed in the air again. In the last 5 years, I've recorded and released 53 pieces, with no end in sight. They've ranged in length from 1.5 to 14 minutes. I've recorded 26 duets, 13 trios, 13 quartets, and 1 sextet using 6 different instruments, and recorded composers from at least 9 different countries. If you're interested in hearing some of the project, visit my website, havemandolinwilltravel.com, or search for Have Mandolin Will Travel on any digital media platform. I have some background for an analysis of each piece on my website, and there are videos on the Have Mandolin Will Travel YouTube channel. I hope that somehow the long-dead composers get a chuckle out of all of this. We pass on, but our work can live apart from us in the people who carry it after we're gone. This has been the Half Mandolin Will Travel podcast. I'm Matt Giuliano, and I hope you've enjoyed this piece. Check out halfmandolinwilltravel.com for a closer look at some of my other projects. Cheers and happy listening.